Good morning. Welcome once again to Zen Minded Men. We're your hosts. I'm Sensei Art Gulley.
Good morning. I'm Sensei Ellis. We have a special guest with us this morning. We have just finished out our series on 7 virtues of Bushido, and this morning we wanted to talk a little bit about endurance, the endurance that martial arts brings to your life, not necessarily just the physical endurance, but mental, spiritual, emotional endurance. And when Sensei Gulley and I were discussing that, it brought to mind a friend of mine, an acquaintance from back in the day, and has a really interesting 2020 story. So we have with us today Professor Ron Dupuis from Windsor, Ontario. He runs Windsor BJJ Academy, Jean-Jacques Machado Black Belt. Well, with that, I'm going to turn this over to Professor Dupuis and let him tell us a little bit about his martial arts experience, resume, and what 2020 brought him. Professor Dupuis.
Okay. Good morning, guys. Yeah, 2020 has certainly been a lot of fun. I started back in probably 81-ish with Mr. Kersey in Windsor. I got I have my black belt at Dexter and Davison, which was an interesting place. You know, the aroma, yeah, the aroma, the ambiance, all that stuff at Dexter and Davison. Yeah, fought 22 people, 32 minutes, and of course with no contact, right? I have pictures to prove different. Yeah, ribs, knuckles, yeah, lots of fun. But I learned from that point that I'd be tough to kill. I remember one particular green belt. I think he might have played for Penn State. A big dude, probably 6'3", at least 270 if I was being kind. And I saw, oh man, it was fun. And Troy Souls, remember Troy Souls?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All my old buddies were there. It was good. It was lots of fun. It was lots of, every time you hit the ground, you had 2 people helping you back up. Such nice guys. Then I went on from there, and I trained for quite a while. And then I trained with Mr. Curry for years, and I went over to Master Adams for years. And I reached the rank of 5th degree black belt. And then one of my training buddies, I throw Bert Maben a shout out too. Him and I went on a tournament circuit for a few years, and you guys were talking about the North American Nationals where you met. Well, I was in the middle of that riot. You guys remember the riot on the floor? 2004 at
well, it was so divided up. I mean, we were in different rooms all over the place.
We were on the upper level when
Yeah.
I remember when something was going on, but we were like on the upper level.
Yeah, we were cues
okay.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my teammates, Ian Hume, you guys ever remember a guy named Ray Wizard something? Black dude, red gi.
Sounds
And
familiar.
he had Wizard on the back.
I remember the red gi with Wizard. I never personally met him, but I remember him at tournaments.
Okay, so you guys weren't black belts then, were you?
No, we were green belts at that tournament.
Okay, this is a black belt division. So
yeah.
So one of my teammates, Ian Hume, was fighting with Ray Wizard, and Wizard took Ian out of the ring, kind of like they did an exchange. They were going out of the ring, and Ian, for some reason, like, I don't know if Ray was pushing him out of the ring, but Ray like grabbed his head and like tried to do like a knee in the face, and ended boom, the whole place went nuts. And there was probably like 30, 40 black belts around, and you got a riot with black belts. That was that was crazy.
We were black belts when we met, Vince.
No,
we were black belts.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because we didn't go up. Did we go up together? We didn't go up together. Because I got my black belt in '96.
Yeah, I know.
So that would have been, oh, you're right. Yeah, we were brown belts. That was 95. We were brown belts,
Yeah,
right?
94,
right.
95.
We were brown belts. So I had to think about that. So I know we were past, we were brown, and we were on, that was down at the Renaissance, and we were on up in the upper tier, one of those outer balconies, and we heard there was a big ruckus going on. But we just thought, once the tournament was over, everybody heard that. It was like, yeah, did you hear what was happening? Was you guys a part of it? And I'm like, no, we were, you didn't really know it was going on because you just assumed it was natural tournament stuff.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. So then after that, I kind of, when one of the Mr. Kersey black belts, again, Dean Hurst has a sister in California, and he would go there and go to Gracie camps, like stay at his sister's for a week and bring a few guys. And there was all like Kersey black belts would go with him. There was 3 or 4 guys, and I was really late to the party. I started training with him late in 2003, like October 2003, and I did a lot of privates. We were good friends, so we would do I'd do privates with him every weekend when I wasn't teaching. And I ended up getting my blue belt under Shanji Hibero in like 6 months, which is pretty good. And then that started my career from there. And then we kind of parted our ways around that time. And then I met John Jock in Ohio and received my purple belt in Ohio at the Reed Academy under John Jock. And I've been with him ever since. So, and I was doing online training with John Jock, like watching all the videos and stuff like that. And I would take my black belts from my school and we would train in my garage. So we trained in my garage for a couple of years, and then opened up a school. So I had 120 students at my karate school when I started to introduce the jiu-jitsu. We whittled that down to about 40. Yeah, it's tough, right? You guys know it's tough. And then I just went into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I opened up the school in 2008. So that's where we are for there. Currently black belt 2nd degree under John Jock Machado.
Yeah.
Who, if you don't know, has no fingers on his left hand.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Has that always been that way, or?
It's a birth defect. So he basically just a thumb.
Wow.
And you wouldn't know it.
Yeah. I honestly think I did not know that. And now, just thinking about having to try to grip a lapel or something, that's pretty amazing.
He can see that thumb in there, buddy. Trust me.
I bet. Yeah.
Trust me. And he went in 95 or 98. He won his division at the Abu Dhabi Combat Club. So with all the best grapplers in the world, he submitted all 4 guys with a hand and a half, and he won most technical fighter.
Wow.
Huh. That's amazing.
Yeah, that just shows you the beauty and versatility of the martial arts, jiu-jitsu. If you're studying, if you focus, put your mind to it, you can overcome any challenge. I mean, he turned it into a strength, because I can imagine if that thumb and that foreknuckle gets a hold of you, I can imagine his whole perspective is going to be 10 times anybody else's, because he knows that this is his only advantage at the point. So that just shows you martial arts, man, it can overcome anything.
You got it. So that leads us into my 2020. So back in April, now I'm going on almost 40 years in the martial arts. The last 15 specifically with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which actually better prepared me for what happened, just because it's a more physical, right? It's way more physical. It's like wrestling, you mess with a wrestler, those guys got endurance all day, and they're going to kill you. They may not know how to submit you, but they're going to kill you. It's just going to be too hard to deal with a wrestler. We're a little more relaxed than the wrestlers from the jiu-jitsu side. If you get on top of me, I'm just going to start smiling. And I'll maybe, if you're really big and heavy, I'll take a nap, because I like to be like that warm and cuddly type thing, but it's not going to last long. But right around April, I had an abscess in my brain, which caused me to have, so I had like a kind of seizure, not the choking on the tongue seizure, but the kind of seizure where it just, it kind of shut off the right side of my body, because the pressure was on my brain. It's like it hit a switch. So I went down on my bathroom floor. Actually, I called for my wife before that, because I knew something was happening. It was just crazy. So I ended up in the hospital emergency room for 18 hours. At that point in time, during that point in time, I had 2 CAT scans and an MRI. They were looking at a spot on my brain. And I went in the emergency room at 7 a.m. And around midnight, the doctor comes up and he says, we found a spot in your brain. I'm like, oh, yeah. Goes, oh, it could be cancer, could be a tumor, could be an abscess. I thought, oh, fuck. Can I swear? I thought I'm fucked.
Just be you.
I'm fucked. What am I going to do? Like, you can't get to it. You can't scratch it. You can't pull it out. Like, so they admitted me around 1 o'clock. So that's like 18 hours in emergency. And the next day I had scheduled for brain surgery at 11 in the morning. And this was at COVID, right at the start of COVID. So they allowed my wife to come in because I didn't know if I was coming out. So we're saying our goodbyes, and I see a girl from school that I know that works there. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? So I only had a few minutes, and here I am chatting with someone else while my wife were saying our goodbyes. But as you can see, I made it out. When I made it out, all I had to work with was my thumb. My thumb, I could move my thumb on my right hand. It was pretty much a limp noodle. And the right leg, I could walk, but my foot was kind of turned out. It was funny. So my wife told me when I was on the bathroom floor, I was having trouble breathing. So I think like half my body, like it was just messed up. And when I hit the floor, I didn't know what was happening to me. So I did like damage control. What's going on? What's going on? So there was zero pain. And then I asked myself, the next question was, am I dying? Because all I wanted to say was, fuck. That's it. That was my last words. And so once there was no pain, I wasn't dying. So I thought, let's get going. Let's try to get out of this jam. And it was hard for me to shrimp out because half my body wasn't working. But I did get out on the floor and I was having trouble breathing today. The ambulance came there and all that kind of stuff. So the week before that, I was making all sorts of spelling errors, which I didn't realize the pressure on my brain was messing up the fine motor control skills of my right hand and my leg too. Cause I went for a walk with my partner, my neighbor, and my wife, he accused me of limping and she accused me of limping when they saw me walking. And I thought, I'm not limping, but I was limping. So the signs were there. I just didn't know how to interpret them. So anyway, fast forward to, hospital time, I rehabbed my arm back to where I could finally, well, it's funny. I couldn't make a fist. So I go to the bathroom, I put my hand on my knee and it would fall in the toilet. So I put my hand on my knee, it'd fall on the ground. So it was a pain in the ass because I had no control of my right arm. When I could finally make a fist, I couldn't open it. So I had to pry my fingers open with the other hand, right? When I finally figured that out, then I could go to the bathroom, at least hang on to the bar and my hand would be flopping all over the place. So going through rehab and all that, they finally released me. The problem was when I got home and I started feeling better, my body was completely out of sync. My left side compensated for the right side so much, like my back, my hips, my shoulders, like everything was messed up because I was out of whack for so long and I had no control. I couldn't, it was hard to compensate. So I spent the last, whatever it is, 6-7 months rehabbing. So now I'm doing like 50-pound dumbbell presses, like the strength is back and I'm rolling with guys again. So pretty much all that's been overcome. So here I am above the dirt.
It's always a plus.
Wow. That's wow. I can't sum it up other than wow. I mean, wow. Folks listening, you didn't see it, but a few minutes ago, Professor Dupuis got up to let his cat out the door, and he did this kind of tuck roll pivot sweep move, and then tuck roll pivot back into the chair. If you saw how he moved, you would never suspect that he was overcoming anything, because whatever you've been doing, it's obviously working. And like I said, this, as Sensei Ellis said, we're talking about endurance here. Obviously this was just a challenge that was just beyond anything that I can even comprehend. What was your mindset? Like, what did you tell yourself that, what do you think the core reason that you were able to rehab? I mean, obviously you have support of a great family, a great wife, who you're lucky she didn't beat you down when you were talking to another lady when you were in there in the hospital. You're lucky you made it out of that one. So that's something to be said right there. But what was your mindset? What do you think? Like we always talk about how we take it to the dojo and the beat downs, our black belt test, we got beat down by a lot of people who didn't hit us, that's a lie. They beat us down. And you understand that your body can take and do more, and you try to get your mindset into that. In your situation, you were faced with a situation where it's like, okay, I've got no choice but to toughen up here. How did you get through that? What was you holding on to? What did you, can you share it with us? Give some of us some hope,
Well, from just shortly after I hit the floor, I fell off the toilet, got wedged in between my my closet and the toilet. And when I realized I wasn't dying, that was the second I started working for rehab. That was it. I got to move forward. It's like taking a shot, oh, that wasn't so bad. Let's go forward. That's exactly what that is the moment in time I decided I was getting out of this jam. And I'd never changed my mind the whole time. I've never had any doubts. I've never had any fears. I blew them away at the rehab hospital because one day, my arm would. Did you see the videos at all, guys?
I did.
I didn't. There's videos.
There's YouTube videos.
Yeah, what Professor Dupuis did, and this is the only reason I'm even aware of this, because we're Facebook friends, and I woke up one morning and here's this video of him in the hospital, and it was like, this is what happened. I've been silent, but here's what happened. So from that moment on, he kind of recorded his just daily messages, inspirational. This is where I'm at. This is what happened yesterday. Today I moved my thumb and finger, and just kind of, there's a chronological story of his rehab available, I guess, on YouTube. I
got my phone in my hand. I've opened up YouTube. Could you give us the channel so we can look at it? So if anyone's listening, they can look at it too. Professor, could you? Do you know what's it under?
It's Windsor BJJ on YouTube. Could be Ron Dupuis. I don't know. Let me look. We can edit this.
But yeah, that was the whole reason I'm familiar with this story. Was I was kind of tuning in and watching his recovery via those short little snippets that he was given. I was laid off.
Yeah, I found it. It's okay. So anyone who wants to look this up, it's under Ron Dupuis is spelled RONDUPUIS. And when you go to the Windsor Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when you Google that, it'll pop up. And then if you open it up to videos, you'll see under the video section, there's like, September 15th, August 17th, August 15th. There's just a whole series of rehabbing. Update from the pond, first time back at the range, day 45 update, 37. I mean, it's like a serious testimony to this man's strength. So please, I think I'm going to go through these videos. I wish I had known this. This would have been inspirational for me to look at. But again, if you go under the Windsor Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Chief Instructor Ron Dupuis, that's the channel name. And when you open up the channel, if you look under the video section, everything is chronologically in order there. And you can watch Professor Dupuis as he rehabs and comes back from this. So anyone listening, please, please, please take a look at this, because this is I'm distracted now because I'm looking at my phone. So now I'm going to put this phone down, because if not, I'll be sitting here watching these videos while we're doing this podcast. But please check that out. And the fact that you said, I really like when you said, the moment you hit the ground, you said, okay, I took an assessment, I'm not dying. Well, now I can move forward. That is so what the martial arts is about. When you get hit, you realize, okay, that hit didn't stop me. I got to keep going. Whether you're in the dojo, whether you're in the street, whatever happens, that is one of the things that we always talk about. We just got finished with the series on the principles of Bushido, and respect and honor, loyalty. But endurance is something people, when they think of endurance, they think of, oh yeah, I'm in shape, I can run 15, 20 miles, whatever. Mental and emotional endurance is an overlooked subject in this country. And given the fact that right now we're in the middle of this pandemic and so many people are going through so many things, so many losses of loved ones and income and everything, to have the endurance to maintain your perspective on life, you had the fortitude and endurance to say, okay, I'm at a low point. but I'm going to keep going forward. And you never look back. And now here you are, you know. I think that if everyone listening to this could just stop for a minute, no matter what you're going through, just stop for a minute and say, okay, wait a minute. This is not killing me. Let Professor Dupuis' example, let that be your example. Okay, this is not killing me. So how do I move forward from this? You know, I think that is a key thing of what we're trying to share here. In the dojo, one of the things that those fellow martial artists who didn't really hit you, but did hit you and they knocked you down to the ground, me and Mr. Sensei Ellis talked about this, you were never helped up. They always told you to get up. And if somebody put their hand down and you reach for your hand, chances are you got kicked back down. Now, if you were hurt and you made an effort to get up, then someone would help you up. I think that's something to really understand. You may not always have someone to help you up. You may not always have somebody to pick you up. But since Professor Dupuis, he called out for his wife, he was on the ground. If she hadn't been there, he had already decided, well, I'm not dead. I'm going to figure out some kind of way. As he said, he made it to the floor. He made it into position. That's something that you got to remember, people. Martial arts, everyone watches the movies. You see the wonderful acrobatics, the kicks and the techniques. But martial arts, Master Adams always tells us it's 90% mental. 90% mental. The 90% is why Professor Dupuis is sitting in this chair with us right now. His mental fortitude allowed his body to say, hey, I'm not giving up on this, you know? I mean, Sensei Ellis, what do you think? You thinking that should he be the poster boy for endurance? Because I'm thinking so.
Agreed. It's a very inspirational story. Having watched it and just kind of followed his, you know, just knowing him, the little that I did, you know, training together a few times through the 90s, and, you know, kind of his character, there was no doubt, you know, that he's got a warrior mindset, whether it was his, you know, time in the striking arts or the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Our conversations this weekend, I knew he was a shooter, but now I know he's a competitive shooter. So, you know, Professor Dupuis got a lot of drive. But I'm kind of curious, Professor, how do you credit, and did you share that with the medical personnel that was working with you, how much of your recovery do you credit with your martial arts training, and how that prepared you mentally for that challenge and emotionally for that challenge?
Interesting question. When I hit the floor and decided that we were going to keep moving, it brought to mind an anthill. So if you walk by an anthill and you kick it over, and if you watch really closely, you'll see the ants just start picking up those grains of sand and putting them back together. They don't complain, they don't bitch, they don't look for someone to blame. You come back an hour later, you kick it over again, and that little buggers they're putting it back together. So I had actually, I told that story. One of my guys actually designed a logo for me with an ant, because they're very tough. They're very tough. They don't stop. Like, they're on mission. They don't stop. So that's, you know, that mindset probably brought together from all the years of martial arts, but really there was no reason for me to stop. I don't look for excuses. I'm not I'm not just going to whine and say, poor me and blah, 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 and, you know, go on disability and all that stupid shit. No, I'm going to move on with things. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Prevail. I like that.
So there's an
for
ant
anyone
with a black
listening to
belt through it.
this, it's Sensei Dupuis has a logo, and at the top it says Windsor, and then there's a picture of an ant head with the antennae and a black belt superimposed
Ant head with a
behind
black belt. Yeah, BJJ black belt.
And then
That's
it
cool.
says underneath it in a nice italics, it says Prevail. That's it. I like that.
Cool font. Yeah.
Yeah, Prevail. You know, I love that.
That's just my mindset all the way through, guys. I just said I was on vacation, and I had 3 meals a day. I had the first hospital I was on the 8th floor, like a penthouse suite. I had looking at the Renaissance Center for one window, and the other window looking at the American side of the bridge. At night, it was beautiful. It was great. And when I went to the second hospital, I had the fourth floor looking right at the Renaissance Center. So I had like penthouse suites, 3 meals a day, just, but I was confined in my room. So what I had to do was they have big wooden doors with handles, right? So I would use the handles to work my rotator cuff on my right arm, just stand in the doorway, working back and forth. And people, the nurses would walk by and they just go, I was doing squats at the end of the bed. I was working out on my own because I only had 2 hours of therapy a day. So I had all that extra time. So I did do some binge watching, honestly, but I did work out as much as I could.
Right. So actual time in the hospital. So this happened in April. When were you released?
I was 25 days in the hospital, April 5th to April 30th. They had planned to keep me till May 5th. I did so well. I was making such progress every day. If you watch the videos, you'll start to see the progress. One day I'd be laying in bed and I could finally get my arm up over my head, but if I brought it forward, it just slammed down to the bed. So
right.
And they were just, as the brain swelling was going down, I was allowed access to more control of my body, put it that way. So it just got better and better and better. You see art when you look at it, you see, I could get my hand up like arm mid chest level one day, just like to here. And it was a big deal for me because it was slow progress, but
it was progress.
It was a lot of fun.
If you walk into any of Master Adam's dojos, the one big logo that you see painted is always, we will give out before we give in. And this is a clear example of that. Professor Dupuis was not giving in. And so basically he just worked until he gave out, then woke up and did it again the next day. So like I said, Vince told us, Sensei Ellis a while back, one of the things he always said is that martial arts is the framework from which we hang our lives upon. And in this instant, we always it's easy to get trapped up in the fact that we're learning how to fight, we're learning how to defend ourselves, but we're also learning how to overcome any obstacle that comes our way, be it emotional or Sensei Dupuis says physical and emotional as well. When you lose control of your body, we're learning how to endure anything that comes at us. Now, me personally, I'm a living testament to all kind of injuries. I'm in the auto industry. I've been at the truck plant for 22 years, and back in 2005, I got caught in the crane, and it pretty much destroyed this arm. The tore the rotators. It was a double tear in it. So they ended up doing 2 surgeries. I was out for about 10 months, and one of the ways I rehabbed it, when I would go to rehab, it was the same story. They were like, wow, you're just not stopping. I said, no, I can't stop because I got to get back. I got to be able to work my side. I got to be able to work my bow. My dojo mates, they're going to beat me down if I don't get this arm. A few years later, I tore the tendons in this hand with one of the guns at work. Same thing, the rehab, you got to keep doing it. Now I found out I've got to go in this Friday, the 11th. They got to do a total hip replacement because I'm bone on bone in the left hip from just overuse. And they've given me a lot of, I was telling Sensei Ellis about this. They gave me some restrictions about, when you come out of the surgery, you won't be able to, pivot. And I said, wait, stop. I'm a martial artist. So I showed them, I said, this is how I move normally. And they said, yeah, right. Nope. You're going to be baby stepping it around. So I'm already sitting here, and I was telling Sensei Ellis earlier, I got to talk to Master Adams because I'm going to need I want some new mental perspectives that I can work on while I'm forced to kind of be still. They're providing me with a walker. So I'm thinking in my mind what kind of great exercises I can do with this walker, because you don't want to give up, you don't want to give in. You want to just keep pushing forward. And like I say, I'm going to say it again, and people listening, you're going to get sick of me saying this. Professor Dupuis is an inspiration. I mean, I'm just blown away, so forgive me for sounding stupid on that, but I'm just blown away by it because I've seen so much. Sensei Ellis does too. One of the things we talk about a lot is how our society is breaking down from the way it used to be. We see our young people, they're not as focused as they were. We see our older, mature people, they don't set good examples anymore. Everyone's becoming chemical dependent or liquid dependent. And we're losing sight of what it means to just be true to yourself, grab hold to your brain, lift yourself up on your own merits. And this is a story that, hey, this is a man who hit the ground, and the moment he hit the ground said, all right, I'm not dead, I'm going to keep moving. Martial arts teach you to do that. If you get hit in a fight, as long as you're not dead, you're not hurt, keep moving. Even if it's just to run away, keep moving. And I think that the more and more people start to realize that what's going on, the pandemic is bad, but it's not stopping the world. If you notice, everything's still going on. Restaurants have still found a way to get their food out. Families are still finding a way to bring new babies into the world. You know, criminals are still out there trying to be criminals. So you've got to keep moving forward as well. Give out before you give in. Don't give in. Give out before you give in. You know, Sensei Ellis, I'm pretty sure you impart the messages of endurance to your students. What are some of the ways and some of the examples you use that don't require the beat downs? What are some of the ways that you inspire your students to never give up?
I don't know if you can get away from the beat downs. That's where the lessons are learned. But all of this, this whole conversation really brings us back to the struggle, right? I think it's so easy for people to give up when they haven't experienced something tangible or some kind of real struggle. And I'm not making light of anybody's situation, but in the dojo, again, this is my thing, right? The dojo is that microcosm of the universe. You learn those lessons on the mats that you can, it's typology. You take those struggles on the mat and you apply that outside. Sensei Dupuis or Professor Dupuis talked about, hitting the floor. It's like taking a shot, right? All of us in this conversation have been hit, and you see that flash of light and you feel that sensation of pain rolling through your body. And then as he described, I'm not dead. I tell my students all the time, I'm like, yeah, pain, that's your body telling you you're not dead yet. Fight back. That's what we do. If it hurts, you're in the fight. Keep going. We grapple as well in my school. So, you get a guy in a bottom position and they're smothering. They're like, stop, I can't breathe. I'm like, if you're talking, you're breathing. Work. That's my deal. If you're talking, you're breathing. If you're obviously pulling air in and out of your body because you're making words. Stop talking, focus on sustaining yourself, use that energy to breathe and find a way out. And just don't panic, right? Don't panic. Those little lessons that we learn in the dojo in those type of situations are where we need to, strengthen ourselves physically, emotionally, spiritually to deal with what life throws at us outside and off the mat. Because man, life sucks. It's hard. And as John Wayne said, it's harder if you're stupid. Right. So, as a person now, 51 years old, I'm 51. So I'm looking back over more time than I have to look forward to probably. You've had to deal with some things, whether that's work issues, job changes, relocations, family issues. We're to the age now where my wife and I are dealing with losses of our parents. She's lost both of hers. I've lost my father. Those are, things that you have to deal with emotionally. Thank God we've not had to deal with the loss of a child, but like just this week, I stopped at a funeral for a friend who lost his 25-year-old son in a car accident this week. And you got to wonder, how do you prepare for that? Last year, I had an uncle that was terminally ill with cancer, and just watching him over a year and a half and having to deal with that. I don't know. He was a tough guy. He did it with amazing strength, but I don't know. I'm just so thankful that I have those lessons to fall back on, because I do see how, And again, this is one of the things that we talk about is the cultural aspect of, you know, I'm in southeastern Kentucky, the foothills of Appalachia here, very rural. I know Art's in Detroit, Professor Dupuis, you're in Windsor there, so I'm pretty familiar with that. You guys are in an urban area, but it's so easy. I see it here all the time, whether it's a physical setback, an emotional setback, so easy to just, you know, go to the doctor and get a pill. You know, the opioid epidemic is real down here, you know, and, you know, we've got the meth thing going on, you know, just people cooking it in their trunk, in their backyard, in their house, whatever. But the drug problem here in southeastern Kentucky is a real thing. And most of it is an escape mechanism. Starts off as some sort of coping or escape mechanism, which is, to me, I mean, it's kind of punking out, but that's just the way I feel about it. Again, I think, you know, Professor Dupuis, I'm sure that his doctors offered, you know, I'm sure there's things there where they were telling him, your life has changed. It'll never be the same. You need to get right with that. So, Professor, did they tell you that? And if so, what was your response?
Yeah, they pretty much told me I'll have 100% recovery.
Really?
And well, yeah, we'll skip over to Art for a minute. Look, Art, I think 7-8 years ago, I had a hip resurface because I, like you, wore out my hip. And I was bone on bone for a couple of years. It was very painful. I was just stupid to wait so long. And I told them they wanted to do a total hip, and I said, no, I'm not in the business I'm in. I need my flexibility. I don't want it now. So they ended up sending me up to London, Ontario, and I had a hip resurface. So they just kind of clean off the head, right? They'll cap it, so you have the same size at the end of your femur. You know, when they do a total, they cut it off. They put a little ping pong ball in there.
Right.
Right. So I actually know a guy that does jujitsu in the States, has a double hip replacement. He's not as agile as you, I can tell just by looking at you, but he gets by.
One of the guys I trained with,
Chuck Norris has a hip replacement too.
Yeah. Marty Stewart, Vincent, you've met, I don't know if you might have met Martin Stewart, because he came up at Davidson. He's been training for years. Marty Stewart, he's had a double. He's the one that actually convinced me to just go ahead and do it. You know, because when my son, my youngest, wanted to get back into the dojo, I had been away in the dojo for a few years. He wanted to get back because I trained them. They started and they said, well, Dad, we don't need to go because we live with you. Then I said, I'm not going to pressure him. And then he said, Dad, I want to go back to the dojo. So when he went back, Sensei, the first thing he said is, when are you coming back? I said, oh, well, you know, Sensei. He said, yeah, excuses. When are you coming back? So I started training, and it was obviously I couldn't move. And Marty was like, Art, let me tell you, Marty is, and I said, I'm 52. I think Marty is 62. He said, man, I had the left one done. He said, and then I had the right one done. And he just like dropped down. He started squatting. He says, you'll be amazed. He says, yeah. He says, well, I can't do the splits, and my side kick's not as high. But I mean, this guy, he blazes his katas, and he said, you got to get it done. And finally, Sensei's like, if you can't walk, you need to get it done, because Mr. Stewart had it done. So my wife, of course, they're like, we're tired of living with you because you're basically the walking dead. And you're very grouchy, and you know, you just, so yeah. But you gotta make it within your mind. You gotta realize, some people think, you know, and I was one of those people, and I hate to say it, I gotta bring this up. Some people think endurance means, oh, I can take the pain. Yeah, that's okay, but you got to be stupid. You know, you can't be stupid. I was stupid about it. I've been living with this progressively. It's been getting worse like the last 5 or 6 years. And I've watched my mobility just shrink away. You've got, at some point, you got to also be able to endure that your pride is telling you wrong. You know, yeah, it's okay to endure the pain, but if there's a way to alleviate the pain that doesn't go against your personal code, your personal preference. For instance, I don't like drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do none of it. I have a hard time. I have a blood condition, so they can't prescribe anything for me in terms of like the naproxen and all of that stuff. I can't take it. So I can do low doses of Motrin, but I use a lot of ice. Ice is your friend, and a lot of heating pads, and I do the ginger tea. You've got to accept that, okay, this is as far as I can go with this. Now let me step further, you know. Professor Dupuis, his wife was there, and he, you know, she helped him get to the hospital. The doctors gave him what he needed to do. People, I guess what I'm saying, this in a
We lost him,
roundabout way.
Vince. Oh, there he is.
Don't let trying to have endurance, don't let your endurance keep you reaching out and accepting help that's offered. Don't let it keep you from realizing that, you know what, I'm going to do this, but I can't do this alone. So I'm going to get help to do this so that I can do what I need to do down the road. Don't let your endurance, because, you know, the whole tough guy syndrome. Oh, yeah, you know, yeah, my arm's broke, but hey, dude, I'm good. No, your arm's broke. Yes, you're going to get past it, but don't let the pride keep you from going to the doctor, getting it properly set so that you can get past it quicker. I guess that's what I'm going at. And when we're talking about endurance, and Vince mentioned the loss of a parent, I would be remiss if I don't mention the strongest person that I've ever known in my life was my mother. And I say that because back in right when I graduated high school, it was 86. 85, she was diagnosed with the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And basically she was out of here. She was, you know, she was gone. And so the family was like, you got to prepare. And it's just me and my mom. So you got to prepare. Her doctor, fortunately, was a young guy. He tried some new stuff and she recovered from it. She went into remission. They removed it and she was clear. But it took about a year and a half. I watched her almost die. Then I watched her slowly build up, and I was taking care of her for a while. You know, flash forward 10 years, she got breast cancer on the right side. She survived that. Flash forward another few years, she got breast cancer on the left side. She survived that. We did a double mastectomy. Flash forward a few more years, the breast cancer came back, even though there was no breast. They cleared that. So she was a 4-time cancer survivor. Well, we moved forward again. She started shortness of breath. Her conditions started going down. She was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. And they realized her heart had been destroyed partially from the radiation and the chemo from the years of cancer. In between that, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So in the midst of all of that, she had a mild stroke. So I took care of her for like the last about 3 or 4 years of her life. I mean, I basically had to just do everything. She lived in Novi, I lived in Detroit. I did all the shopping. It was me and my aunt, my aunt Alfreda, who's my godmother. I mean, who's like my rock in a lot of ways. She would do all the appointments and keep her going, and I would take her to the doctor, do all the laundry, do everything. But my mom was so strong mentally. I mean, of course she'd have her moments, but she would, like, the doctors would tell her to do this, that's what she would do. They would say, you got to eat this. That's what she ate. They would say, you got to start going here. That's where she went. Now, sometimes we had to say, hey, get on that little bus, take your little butt to your rehab therapy to keep going. But she kept going and she just kept saying, I want to live. I just want to live. That was her whole mantra. I want to live. I want to live. So everything she did. And when she passed away back in July, up until those last moments she went into hospice, she was still, even then, she was just like, you know, I said, you got to eat something. You got to, then she was just, but you can see that strength. And she's like, okay, I'm going to hold on as long as I can because that's just what I want to do. And for the most part, yeah, she had her moments where she could get kind of, but for the most part, she always had a smile. When you come visit her, she was always, you know, her friends were calling her. It was just like, wow, you do not give up. And to me, that's what endurance is about, man. If you do not give up in the face of adversity, you know, I actually feel kind of punky sometimes when I do some things. I was like, yeah, you know what, I can get past that. You know, my oldest son, he was born at 25 weeks. When he was born, he weighed 1 pound, 8 ounces. You could literally fit him in the palm of our hand. And this little kid went through everything. You know, they had to collapse a lung, you know, his teeth, his eyes. He has Poland syndrome, so one of his arms is slightly malformed. He had to have hand surgeries, and all of a sudden, this kid now, he's 21, strong as an ox, smart as a whip. And, you know, of course, sometimes me and him don't agree, but he never lets anything get him down. He's focused, you know. I see him do stuff, and we've always said, hey, man, you're going to be a little different, but you got to keep going. This kid, I mean, I love that this boy is like a source of inspiration because he's like, yeah, I'm different, but that doesn't mean I can't be who I want to be. He's in there, he's doing his push-ups. He's like, yeah, Dad, you know, I do my one-handed push-ups. You know, he does his techniques. He can't make a fist, but he does his shoe toes. He says, yeah, Dad, I'm doing this and that. And I love that. So every time I feel sorry for myself, I just look at him. I'm like, this kid is amazing to me. And to us, I think that as martial artists who are healthy, it's easy for us to lose sight of what true endurance really is, because we break a bone or we get hit or we get beat down, and we get upset for a minute, but yeah, I can keep going. But for someone like Professor Dupuis to come in here and show us that, hey guys, yeah, it's okay. You got up from getting beat down, but my body knocked me down completely. And here I am with you guys today. That to me is a testament of what true endurance really is. Emotional endurance, physical endurance, mental endurance. That's what it is. It's saying to yourself, I'm not dead. So now what do I do? Let me keep moving forward. Now, Professor, you say you've gotten back and you started with your students now. This new perspective you have, has it given you has it changed the way you teach, your philosophy of your martial arts teaching, or certain things you do? Have you started to get a little bit more, what's the word? I don't want to say Zen Buddhist from the monk temple, but have you started to like like do a little more with your students, try to develop that mental toughness them more? Has it become more of a focus now to not only develop the physical, but now you really see that, guys, let me show you also you've got to develop that mental toughness? Has it changed the way that you teach and your outlook on what the martial arts truly offers?
I believe I got a second chance. So like probably 3 years ago, I was 205. Then I changed my diet. I got down to 190. When I hit the hospital, I was 190 pounds. So today I'm 170 pounds. And when I ended up coming home and I had you guys know what a pick line is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They put a line in, goes right to your heart. Okay. So I had that for longer than I wanted. So it stopped me from working out because I wasn't supposed to lift, even though I was doing some stuff. And then as soon as that came out, from that day on, I haven't missed a workout. I work out every morning. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. I'm working out. I'm putting muscle on. I'm getting stronger every day. And that, without me saying anything to my students, I've heard from some of them, and they just look at me and they just shake their head, like some haven't seen me in months, and then they come out to a class and they go, they wouldn't know anything happened. They see I lost a little weight, but other than that, and I'm rolling, and I've killed a few of them, and they just say, oh my God, like they're having a hard time comprehending that I couldn't do anything like back in April, May, June. I rebuilt a wall in my backyard. It had, I have a stream. I have 2 ponds in a stream, and I have these 4 blocks high wall, and each block weighs over 20 pounds. And it was kind of getting ratty and unlevel and all this kind of stuff. So I rebuilt that in about a week and a half in the summer, hottest part of the summer. And just that was part of my rehab, working on my knees, lifting these heavy blocks around. And I had to be done. So I did it. Like, if something has to be done, and my philosophy has always been this: if you have a list of things to do the hardest thing first. Always the hardest thing first. You guys probably do that too. You don't put the hardest thing off because it just tends to grow and get bigger behind you. No, go after the hardest thing first. So I like to go after problems head on. You got a problem? Go get it. Go get it. And you'll find that, you go up it's not always easy to, you look at a big guy and you think a big guy's really tough, and you find out the big guy's not that tough, and you find out the smaller guys are tougher than the big guys. So you never judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean? You're shaking your head. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. We all been there.
Yeah.
But it's just because I was in no pain, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. There's cancer, broken bones, and all that stuff. That stuff hurts. I was in no pain. It's just like a switch went off in my brain, and I lost part of my body. So I just did what I had to do to get back.
That's the interesting part, though. I think where emotionally and mentally you really had to fight. Pain is, it's kind of a macho thing. We're all used to that. But to lose mobility would be so emotionally devastating, so mentally devastating, because there's literally, at first glance, nothing that you can do about it. You're at the mercy of whatever's going on inside your head, which is crazy. It's interesting you talk about doing the hardest thing first. I was kind of smiling we were sparring in class a week or so ago and doing rounds and, you know, making sure everybody had a chance to go. And we were down to like the last round. So I said, okay, everybody pick a partner. Well, everybody but one guy kind of ran from me. They went to the other side of the dojo, and one of the black belts, you know, he goes, I want you. And, you know, one of the other students was just ask him, he's like, why would you do that? You know, and he's like, I want to learn something. Why wouldn't I do it? You know, he said, I'm going to make the most of my time. So yeah, if you want to learn, you know, or you want to get better, you have to always challenge yourself, you know, always challenge yourself. And that's always been my deal. You know, I want the toughest guy in the dojo for the most part. You know, those are the guys I want to train with, because you're going to learn something at the end of the day. And even at work, you know, I think we've talked about this in the past. You know, I think one of the things my martial arts training helped me with in the progression of my career was, you know, when something came up, you know, who wants to do this? I'll try it. I'll do it. You know, I was always that guy who wants to do this new thing, who wants to learn this new thing. That's me. I'll do it. You know, never shy away from a challenge. That's another virtue, I think, that as martial artists, something that just comes naturally. Once you adopt this mindset, this lifestyle, is accepting that challenge. There's very few things that, you know, you'll turn away from or walk away from.
You know, I like to tell my students, never say no to knowledge. Just never say no to knowledge.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah. Why would you not want to be smarter?
In anything, right? If it's something that you don't know and you have an opportunity to learn, be there. You know,
I want to share something with everyone. I was in preparation for this week. I would like to look up stuff. You know, Vince knows me and movies and me and Wikipedia. But I found this was a nice little thing I found. It says the 6 things mentally strong people do. All right. It says, number 1, they move on. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. Number 2, they embrace change. They welcome challenges. Number 3, they stay happy. They don't waste energy on things they can't control. Number 4, they are kind, fair, and unafraid to speak up. Number 5, they're willing to take calculated risks. And number 6, they celebrate other people's success. They don't resent that success. Now, 6 things mentally strong people do. If that isn't, if Professor Dupuis isn't, these 6 things come to life, I don't know what is. You know, like you said, he didn't complain, he didn't fuss, he just moved forward. He celebrates 6 successes, he celebrates other people's successes. The same thing that, you know, me and Vince, when you say that when we would walk into the dojo, I would walk in on Wednesday, he would walk in, I would kind of look around. If I didn't see him, I would kind of breeze easy because I knew I'm going to have an easy night because, you know, unless I was fighting like Master Early, who was going to kill me anyway, I didn't worry about fighting him or Master Maybe because I know they were going to kill me anyway. But anybody else, you kind of wanted an easier time. When I saw Sensei Ellis, it's like, okay, this is going to be on. But we would go to each other first because I got to get you done now, man, because I'm fully charged up. I got to see what you've been working on. I know you've been working on something dirty, so I got to see if I can defend against it. He was my challenge for so many years. He was that one guy that I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a hard fight. But it makes you know that, like you said, well, it's got to get done. So let me just go ahead and take care of it. Then the rest of it is easy. Now, one of the things that I find that in this, me and Sensei Ellis has talked about this, the reward for nothing society, you know, the participation trophy society, in a society where it's becoming almost not so accepted, but also almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost promoted to be happy with mediocrity, if I'm saying that right. You know, how do we as martial artists, you know, as fathers, as teachers, in what way, and I'm gonna throw this question first to you, Professor, and then to you, Sensei Ellis. What are the things that we can do, given these lessons of endurance that we learned, given all the dojo that we've learned in martial arts, what are the ways that we can do to counteract this complacency that society has with mediocrity now? It's almost as if no one wants to take that challenge. You know, these kids, they don't want to step out further. You know, certain adults, they'll just stay in this bad job. What are some of the things, how do you think we can combat this so that we become a society again where, again, we're not afraid to take a challenge. We're not afraid to step forward. We're not afraid to achieve, and we're not comfortable with mediocrity. We're not comfortable with that. What are some of the ways, Professor Dupuis, I'm gonna ask you first, what are some of the ways you think we can overcome this?
Well, we had this conversation yesterday at my school, and we were talking about Michael Jordan. Everybody wanted to be like Michael Jordan. Not a lot of people want to do the work that Michael Jordan did. And Isaiah Thomas, after every game, he'd go home and shoot free throws in his driveway. He didn't go home, just put his feet up on the couch. These guys worked hard, you know, and society, by rewarding people that don't work hard, they're going to get what they get. And that's not like us, because martial artists aren't average people. We go to train when we don't feel like it. You know, we go to train, we walk in, and there's our nemesis staring at us and like, I should have stayed home. No, you go and you do it. And you're only going to get stronger. It's by robbing people of that opportunity to advance through adversity is a crime. It's a shame to do that. But we, you know, in the martial arts business, we don't see that so much, right? If you try to hide, we'll find you. You can't, that floor is not big enough to hide, man. You can go to the bathroom all you want. When you come out, you're going to have somebody waiting for you. So that's it. So we're lucky in our little microcosm that we can get away from that complacency. And that kind of guy leads me back to when I had 120 people doing karate. Okay. And that was big for me. And I was out of a community center with Kersey just down the road. He was like 3-4 blocks away, another place. But anyway, and then when I started doing the jiu-jitsu, it was a little more physical. You know, we got to the point where we were rolling with each other. It just started dropping off. The student numbers started dropping off. And when I started my school, I brought 40 people with me. You know, it got tougher. So a lot of those people were participation type people. You know, they didn't have to do too much, right? There were a lot of kids and stuff. But when it came down to hard work, and then I ended up, when we were competing in Michigan, my kids were killing everybody because I had been teaching kids longer than most of the people in Michigan. So I had a 2-3 year head start on them. I started teaching kids in 2000. We started grappling around 2004. And by 2009, when we were hitting the tournaments over there, my kids were killing everybody. They were doing really well. So to answer your question, it's too big of a problem, like nationwide with the participation trophies and that. Quit voting Democrat.
Amen.
All right, I'm not going to open up that can of worms because I voted Democrat this time. Although there were a couple of Republicans I liked as well. So, Sensei Ellis, what's your take on it?
You know what, Art? I happen to like your mayor right now.
I do too.
After 8 fucking bad ones, you got a good one.
Yes, I'm pleased with them too. I have to say it. I can see the difference. You know.
Oh, absolutely, you can see the difference. They're probably going to kick him out of the party though, because he's doing so well.
I don't know. I think Dugan is dug in. Sensei Ellis.
Yeah, I agree. And you and I have had this discussion before as far as participation awards, and talked about some of those same examples. I'm not a basketball fan by no mean, but just watching that whole Last Dance thing, because I was interested. I am a fan of excellence. So when I see people who have excelled in their field, I'm curious as to how they got there. And it always comes down to work. The people who are willing to do the work. And I tell my people in the dojo that all the time. And as a parent, tell my kids that all the time. Accept the challenge. Don't be satisfied with the status quo. My youngest son, for example, has recently changed jobs here within the last 2 or 3 weeks. He worked for the same company I worked for. Had a good job working for our die maintenance group in the machining department. All right, he was a machinist for our die repair. Been there 6 years. and was making a living wage, he would have done well, could continue to do well. But he had an offer to go to another company, a smaller company. And when we were talking about, what he should do, I wasn't going to tell him what to do, but I told him this. I said, if you're comfortable with where you're at and you just want to do it, go in, make your money, leave, you can do that from now on. There's very little risk of you, the company that I work for, we have never had a layoff until COVID. Ever in the history of the company, ever had a layoff. I've been there 21 years. And I said, however, if you want to learn and grow and advance, then take this other position. So he ended up taking the other position. And I look at my martial arts the same way. Excuse me. Whatever it is, Professor Dupuis talked about the transition from karate to BJJ, always an opportunity to learn. Same thing with us. We've done, the striking arts, the Okinawan karate, whether it be, my background is an Isshinryu. Started training in some Japanese style jujitsus back in late 90, early 2000. Now looking more at the Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff as well, but don't say no to knowledge. The professor couldn't have put it any better. Mm-hmm. You never want to be static. There's no such thing as static. If you're not learning, you're regressing. Nothing in the universe is static. You're either moving forward or you're going backwards. So that's really what it's all about. The whole participation trophy award, we've talked about that too. All that does is degrade society as a whole, and it's terrible. We've got to eliminate that mindset. Gravitation towards socialism will be the demise of our society as a whole. It's never worked. I don't know why people think they can do it better. They're not as smart as they think they are. Some very smart people have tried it before and failed.
That's the problem. When you think you're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
Hey, I got one name for you.
Sure.
Billy Blanks.
Yeah.
So without Billy Blanks led the way and everybody followed him. So kids today doing that, what he used to do, like I think him and Michael Jordan were two of the people that I know could fly.
Yes.
I've watched them almost suspend them. How does Michael Jordan hit the freaking top of the key and float to the net? How did Billy Blanks do it jumping at the 2004 jump spinning hook kick, slow motion? I can't explain it, but everybody saw that and everybody said, I want to be like him, right? Yeah. These are two huge role models, right? I don't know why kids are getting away from role models today. I don't know, but
I think one of the problems is because parents, as fathers, I always thought that, we need role models, and it's easy to look outside of celebrities. For me, my biggest role model was my Uncle Clarence. Like I said, my mother and my parents, they divorced when I was 6 months. My father wasn't pretty much in my life, but my Uncle Clarence, he had kids of his own from a previous marriage, and he married my aunt. He had 2 more. I met him when I was 8 years old. And when he married my aunt said, he said, you know what? I need to scoop him up because he's over there with your sister and I need to, and just by the way he conducts himself to this day, that man, I credit everything that I am as a man, as a father, as a husband. I learned from my Uncle Clarence. He was my role model. I mean, he's a retired police officer now, but he has a way of imparting knowledge. Now, he doesn't take no shit. He takes none at all. But he's never boisterous. He's never a bully. I mean, right off the bat, if you mess with him, he's probably going to pull his block out and pop you one. But the way he treats my aunt, that unconditional support of my aunt, the total gentleman, the way he raised us, because he raised me too, when we got out of line, he was quick to put us down. If you went too far, you'd get knocked out. but the way his character, his demeanor, everything. And I think what's happening is so many of us, him made me want to be a good role model for my sons. You know, it just my heart bursts when my kids to this day, like my twins are 17, my oldest is 21. My oldest, he got home last night. You know, he comes home, first thing he gets on, he just starts talking to me. Where he says, Dad, this and that and that. The fact that they still come to me for advice and they tell me and they really appreciate what I have to say. And I'm a part of their lives as they're getting older. And they tell me, they say, well, Dad, you know, we look at what you do. You know, we're going to do what you do. My wife says that all the time. They're looking at you. That makes me want to step up to the game. You know, that makes me want to be someone that my kids can look up to and other people. I think we've lost sight of that. Everyone is about me, me, me now. You know, Vincent, since Ellis did a story last week when he said how his granddaughter, he was fixing his truck and he looked up, his granddaughter had put her wagon up on blocks and was fixing hers. It's an example of everyone's watching you. So there's no more national role models or whatever. If there's no one to look at, stop looking, people stop expecting people to look otherwhere. Be the role model yourself. Sensei Ellis said it the best. Become the role model. Become the person that other people can look up to, including yourself. When you look in the mirror, be someone that you're happy to see. And if you're going through something, have the endurance to say, you know what? I'm going through something. I'm going to get through it. It's not killing me. I'm going to keep moving forward. If each person becomes their own personal role model, then the world as a whole, those young kids looking at you, your students are looking at you. I guarantee you, Professor, anything your students get into from now on, they'll be like, you know what? Considering from what Professor, I'm not even going to go in here and talk this BS to him because he's just going to look at me like, really? This is what you're going through? And so your pinky's hurt. That's why you're not training. Yeah, okay. But is the rest of your body work? You know, considering all of that, you've become an inspiration by just becoming your own inspiration. You know, and that's what I'm getting at. Billy Blanks, Michael Jordan. When you listen to how Jordan talks about his training, this man was a maniac in terms of being. You know, he made you get to his level because he's telling you, I'm good because I'm going to keep training. Billy Blanks was the same way. I watched interviews with him. You know, he developed himself. He developed his physical, his martial arts training. He does this. Each of us in our own way, we have our specialties. You know, I'm good with the size. Everyone knows this. The reason I'm good with the size is because Master Woods gave them to me when I was a green belt and said, I'm not going to teach you nothing, but here, start playing with them. And I did that. So now when I learned something, I'm good with them because for years, and even to this day, my size are not too far from my desk. I will sit there and play with them. You know, Master Adams, he always tells us, and I think this is great. He always says, I can't stand when people come up to me and say, oh, you're just gifted in martial arts. You're just a gifted martial artist. He says, I'm not gifted. He says, I have sit here and done this punch 10 million times. I have sit here and I've come to the dojo every single day. He says, I'm not gifted. I'm just dedicated. You know, I have the endurance to come in here and keep training. That's what endurance shows us. It's like, you don't have to have special powers. All you have to do is just have the fortitude and endure the day in and day out so that you can get to where you want to go to. And, you know, Vince, like I always got to throw a movie in there. One of the best lines for life from the Shawshank Redemption, when he says, get busy living or get busy dying. And to me, one of the things you have to do is you have to endure the hardships life throws at you. Because if you don't, you're just existing. And if you're just existing, you may as well fade on out, you know? Now, as always, we thank our people for enduring us and our long-windedness occasionally, but I know Professor Dupuis, I know you have a class that you have to get to. So we're going to wrap it up. And what we like to do is usually Sensei Ellis brings us home with the final thought, but as our guest of honor, we'd like you to bring us home with your final thoughts on endurance and ways we can just keep moving forward.
Well, everything's an opportunity. If you look at every challenge as an opportunity, you can either come out on the good side or come out on the bad side, but you always learn, you know what I mean? And you use hardship to learn and grow. You know, grappling's a perfect example of that. You get smashed, you're getting smashed and you're getting killed and you're like, you know what? When I was getting killed, when I was a 5th degree black belt, went out to the jiu-jitsu school, and guys that had been training for 3 months were killing me. And I'm like, this is awesome. I got to get some of this. I didn't like say, oh, well, you know what? This is, I'll just go home and pretend it doesn't exist. No, I got killed for a long time. And I'm just a white belt that didn't quit. And there's no quit in me. Look, here's my philosophy on tough guys. Tough and stupid are an interchangeable word. Okay? So if a guy's a tough guy and he's got a broken arm and he's coming to class, he's actually stupid. He's not tough. All right, if you want to limp around in that stupid fucking hip of yours for the rest of your life, you're stupid. You're not tough. I was the same way. I thought I was a tough guy. Get out of the truck, take 3 steps. My fucking hip was killing me. I said, no, I got to get this fixed. So I look at myself like a car. If I've got a problem, I go to the mechanic. You know, I went to a doctor. He fixed my hip. I come out of there and I'm like, I should have did this a long time ago. Art. Okay. And stuff like that. We can't always think we're tough when we're stupid. Okay. So every now and then the voice of reason will pop out of nowhere. And I love to see that. It doesn't happen enough, but we all have a voice of reason. We just choose not to listen to it too often. Right. So listen to the voice of reason and just keep moving forward. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. On that note, everyone, thank you so much, Professor Dupuis. And again, everyone, please check out his video series of Windsor Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Ron Dupuis on YouTube. It's spelled Dupuis. It documents his recovery from his seizure and his abscess. It's amazing. Please check that out. This is Sensei Gulley saying thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Professor Dupuis, for spending your time with us, sharing your story, and imparting us with some knowledge. And I will see you guys when we see you. And everyone out there, please endure whatever life is throwing at you. Keep moving forward. And like Professor Dupuis says, if it's something that you think you're being tough about, but you're really being stupid about it, have the sense to make the difference and move forward from it.
Absolutely. Professor Dupuis, I want to thank you for sharing your time with us today. Again, just having, watched your recovery myself on online. Again, I know you inspired me. That was awesome. And whether, whatever's going on in your life, it's 99.9% of the time, you can work your way out of it. No different than being in the bottom situation. Set a frame up, get something between you and that obstacle, and shrimp a little bit. Just wiggle. Little movements repeatedly can make big things happen. So I just challenge everybody out there to stay strong, and we look forward to the next time that we see y'all.